Thank you for being here, for coming all the way out to the humble hills of Acadiana, swamp of Acadiana. And I want to thank my brother-in-law, Peter Johnston, Reverend Peter Johnston. This is his church that he pastors. He's an Anglican priest, and big inspiration for me. He's a very intelligent guy. Don't be fooled. He went to Yale. He could have been very successful in business. He could have chosen the business route, but he was very called to be a pastor, and so he came down here, married my sister, and came down here. But I appreciate his hospitality. Luke is the head of our largest division, our roll forming division, which we'll tell you guys about here in a moment. So we're a manufacturing company. I'll get into what we do, how we got there, lots of photos. And this is how to not start a manufacturing company. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to my personal website and read all about me. I'm on a mission to change the world. I'm here to do big things. And so a little bit about my background. I graduated college in 2019 as a mechanical engineer. I went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I was very blessed and thankful for that opportunity. And in college, I spent more time in the workshop than I did in classes. We had a really nice studio. I learned a lot about metalwork, about woodwork, 3D printing, design, fabrication. And that's where my heart is, really, in a lot of ways. I love being hands-on. I love prototyping. I love coding. I love being very technical and very much in probably a well-rounded sense. Like, there's no one discipline that I'm won't try. Like, maybe it's electronics or coding. So that's been very influential, and I bring that up because it's influential. But a huge artistic element as well. I did end grain cutting boards. I love woodworking, just being able to create beauty from manufacturing, in a sense, not treating manufacturing or the process of designing and crafting something as just a purely industrial process. Out of college, I wanted to build rockets. I wanted to go work for SpaceX or another defense contractor or someone similar. And this was in college. I did build some model rockets. I never built any full-scale rockets, but I think it'll cross paths again at some point in my future, but I don't know when. And then the other option was modular construction. I looked at the construction industry as a very naive 21-year-old, and I was like, why is this so inefficient? Like, why does it look so inefficient? Like, you look at a job site, and as an outsider, not as an insider, and you say, why does this look inefficient? And I come to realize that there's reasons why it's really not that inefficient, and it's really it is actually not that bad. But I still believe that there's ways to optimize and so I'll get more into that. But this started one of the biggest goals of my life, which is transforming construction using manufacturing. So that's one of my big goals and a theme that you'll see here. So that first company I worked for, starting this company, was B Marco. They're a company out of Atlanta. My first job was special projects manager. And that title has stuck with me. To this day, I still think of myself as a special projects manager. This was my first project there, building a paint booth to paint. So this company did shipping container buildings. And my first job was they handed me the plans and said, go hire people and build this thing. So you stick shipping containers in it and paint them. That's the paint booth, yes. So it heats up, you connect it to gas heaters, and it's got cross flow, so air is going through, picks up the vapor or the overspray and carries it out. And I was a pretty cool project. And then COVID struck, and the B Marco Structures, they just moved to South or North Carolina. But they were based out of Atlanta, Georgia. They promoted me sort of in name to VP of operations 3 or 4 months in. They fired their other ops guys, and I was like, I don't know anything about construction, and I'm the VP of operations. I mean, I was in name, I appreciate that they saw a lot of me, though. And I mean, I started running projects. I helped build all of these projects. I helped manage the subcontractors, and we built these big electrical control rooms. They worked with electrical integrators to do offsite installs of all of their electrical cabinets and all this kind of stuff. Panels, so interlocking panel buildings. Yeah. Pretty standard design there. But also a lot of like custom commercial stuff, finished interiors. Yeah, this one is poking out into our factory with 3-sided glass on the inside, and it was like one of my jobs, was just to like get it done. So I'm pretty proud of it. I thought it was pretty cool. This was just like a showcase piece. This is like you walk into the building and you can go step inside the factory and like see the factory from the lobby. It's kind of actually come to like, I love these small form projects. I do a lot of them for fun for our company. Not for fun, like I try to figure out how to put them into our company now. This was for like Georgia Power. They wanted a containerized workshop that's in a container. This was for like a concert venue. Some stands that you could close the door on, like when the venue's closed, and then you could open it up during the concerts or whatever. This is a kitchen that was going to Africa, and this was during COVID. We built auxiliary hospitals. And this is a theme that's actually come up recently in my life, where we rented a building, we launched the project, we hired all the people, like we scaled the production system for it very fast. And we built 2 auxiliary hospitals with about, I can't remember if it was like 42 containers total. So it was a pretty cool project. We hired like 100 people, ramped up for like 6 weeks, and then shut down the project. It was fast. It was really fast. I don't remember the exact timeline, but it was within like 2 months, start to finish. I love high velocity construction. I love using manufacturing in a way that would be difficult to do on site in the same pace. And we literally, so we had enough boxes there where it was like, we had stations. Like you have a box that's just coming in and a box that's being finished, and then every step in between. You got the plumbers in one, you got the drywallers in one, you got, your framers in one. So it was pretty cool to see that happen. And then I had some issues with the CEO. I got demoted to project manager. The music stopped playing. He realized that I didn't know construction as well as he hoped I did. And ultimately, well, as a project manager, I mean, we still did some cool stuff. We did some coffee shops and some other stuff. This is in Tulsa. I mean, this is a shipping container. I'm like, there's almost no shipping container left. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff. So I worked there for about a year, and at the tail end of it, I brought my brother, and we decided to start our own business because we didn't like how they were running their business. Many things. We didn't like how they cared about people. We didn't like innovating for other people. We thought that we could earn from our own innovation instead of like putting all this effort into someone else's business. And so we started our own company. So then I got the glorious title of co-founder. So step 1 was to choose a good business partner or partners. And the clear choice was the only person foolish enough to work with me, who is my older brother, Tiago. So I've got several brothers. I got 4 brothers, and he's the one directly older than me. We had done some, he went to a different school than I, but we had done some summer abroads together. So this was us in China. We'd gone scuba diving together. So we have a good bond, good relationship. And that's been hugely impactful on the survivability of our business, because whenever one person is really struggling, the other person can prop them up, and vice versa. And we bring very different skills to the table in terms of how we think about the world, how we approach problems. And so we started Boxy LLC. We thought we were going to build shipping containers, and we never built a single shipping container. The first and only modular project we really ever did, true modular project, was soup to nuts. Like, I'm probably 21, he's 24. And we're like, we're going to do some modular stuff. So we built some cold form steel modules out of the material we now manufacture. It was a hell of a project. I mean, we were the general contractor on the project. I sat down and took my GC license and got it. We couldn't find any GCs who wanted to do this kind of project without charging us an arm and a leg, because they didn't understand the process. They didn't understand that they wouldn't have to do a ton of on-site work, that they just have to get the foundation ready. So instead of trying to explain it to somebody, we just did it ourselves. And it was a great process. I think I've described this to y'all before, but like, it was going to be too expensive to hire an engineer to engineer the crane rigging for us. So we just tested it and came up with it ourselves. We tested it by putting blocks underneath the building where the straps were going to be later. And if it didn't break with the blocks, then we figured it wouldn't break with the straps. We did this for my dad, for his clinics. But I mean, it was a great showcase of the product, because it's in Church Point, and maybe it's harder to find contractors out in Church Point, or you don't want to drive out to Church Point every day. So Church Point is a smaller rural town around here. So we proved a lot out with it. It was, I mean, I have no regrets about this project. It taught me so much about construction and modular, and it taught me that there's no business model around modular in this area, or not an easy business model around it. Yeah, so we did a pier and beam, grade beam foundation, so that there's actually a crawl space under the building, so you could go make your plumbing hookups after you set the modules. There's actually a lot of modular design in here I could discuss, but that's not the point of this conversation. It proved out a lot for us. To my knowledge, this is one of the only pure cold form steel modules in the US at the time. Like it's not commonly done. Most of the time it's wood when people build modular. So we didn't have great engineering and testing around it. We had the building engineered, like the final building engineered, but we didn't have the intermediate phases checked. It's on Evie Street in Church Point. I find it by typing in PGOA Church Point. We specifically designed it to look very similar to this. So we ended up putting a gable roof on it and a porch and everything. It looks, and it's got hardy and everything. It looks like the existing building. It doesn't look stand out. And that was one of our big goals. Is we didn't want to do modular. Modular has such a bad reputation of being, like mobile homes or whatever. But this was actually like you walk in this now and it's a normal office and it looks like a normal office. And that's a big misconception, is that modular is like somewhat limiting, but it is limiting too, because you have to design around very specific parameters in order to ship it. PGOA, Pediatric Group of Acadiana, but PGOA Church Point should pick it up. I still find it hilarious today that I was like 21-year-old me getting my GC license because I'm a better test taker than most people sitting down for their license. Oh, look, here's a partially finished view of that. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't tell. You really couldn't tell. And this is the last thing I'll say about the design. Most of the time when people do modular, they put the modules touching each other. We separated them by 5 foot and made a hallway in the center, which was a bit more efficient because then you don't have back-to-back walls. Ultimately, we realized this is too hard. This is too much work, and we're two young guys and we don't have like the resources to make it happen or the know-how. We don't know developers. We don't know anybody. Our parents are not in construction. We've never done construction in our life. This was gonna be huge to pull this off. I mean, and you look at modular is a very fragile industry. A lot of companies go under. And most of the companies are hugely resourced. They're working out of 100,000 square foot facilities. They've got, massive relationships with developers, or they are a developer themselves. We had none of those things. And wisely, I said, this is too much to figure out right now. Maybe something we come back to in the future, though. So we wanted to focus. Now, those modules were built 100% out of cold form steel. And at the time, it was COVID. And anybody here in construction knows that everything was just ridiculous to find and source in COVID. High prices, long lead times. And that was true of the cold form steel product. It was like 13 to 16 week lead times and very expensive, like probably sometimes 200% more than it normally costs. And so I did back of the napkin. So that's our COVID supply chain. I did the back of the napkin math and I calculated and I could manufacture it faster and I could sell it with a markup for cheaper than I was buying it. So back of napkin math never lies. And I launched a business based off of selling metal studs. And that's when we started US Frame Factory as a brand, just under Boxy LLC. We still have the Boxy business. And we started roll forming. And that was November of 2021. So enter Red. Luke knows what this is. Red is our first machine. Was our first roll forming line that we bought. And I remember we bought it during our modular project. We had already saw that modular was gonna be too hard to pull off. So we started pivoting quickly. And I had never operated a roll forming machine in my life. I had, by that point, only visited a handful of facilities. I had never actually seen this machine manufactured. I'd never met this machine manufacturer. This was purely off of research that I ordered from them. And I ordered the right machine. I could have ordered a lot of wrong machines, but I ordered the right machine at that time. I was very lucky. That machine costs, we bought that for around $225,000. And fun fact, that is the only brand new machine we have bought in our history. After that, we stopped buying new machines. And now, just alone having that machine is not a good idea. That's not a business model, just having that machine. And so a lesson learned from there is good ideas can be bad business models. I was thinking about that last night when I was preparing this presentation. But good ideas, like on paper, great ideas can be bad business models. So let me explain. This is a house that we built in Lafayette with this machine. We have this machine. I personally modeled every component in this house. Our machine rolled it out. We fabricated it. I assisted fabricating. I personally led the team that put up this building. And here it is compared to a wood frame building. And this is a great idea. Termites don't eat it. It doesn't catch on fire. It doesn't rot. I mean, it's a great material. It really is a great material. And so the misconception, the great idea is that houses should be built out of steel, right? You know, it's such a great material. And that alone could make your business fail in this industry. Thinking that houses should be built out of steel. Because, and this is why it's a bad idea, is because houses can be built quicker with wood. Wood is a sufficient material, and when built with correctly, it can yield a great house at a lower cost than steel. And so that's why steel will generally always lose in the US market for houses. And so a lot of people get into our industry and think that they're going to go build houses, and that's like the worst possible thing you can go after because the margins are tight, the contractors are inexperienced with the product, so they complain about it and they charge more to work with it. So we had to fall into that trap first, though. That's normal progression. So we built a few houses and we lost money on them, and we realized we can't do this. At least not at this scale. Maybe at a larger scale someone can pull it off, but not at a kind of bespoke level can you pull off low income steel framing. This was for Habitat for Humanity. So cool project. I don't regret doing this project. Taught me a lot about framing and everything. This was another one we did for them, and this was one that we did for a guy up in Pennsylvania. This was more of the high-end housing kind of projects, and it was just, I mean, it's just a lot of work, and people don't want to pay the price for the quality that you're trying to give them. My sales pitch is like, it's an inherently better product, but you can still build a fantastic building out of wood, so just build it out of wood. You can build a fantastic wood house. You just have to do the right things. You have to seal it up so moisture doesn't get inside. You have to make sure you have the right, humidity control, all this kind of stuff. But your wood house is gonna last forever. Yeah, you can do a wood truss, or you might have to put like a little beam in there to hold it. But they have figured out how to build everything with wood. You can't see it here, but they are propping up the walls with wood 2x4s as they're building. It depends, but it could be 40% more expensive. Just the steel versus the wood package. I mean, like, let's say an installed framed product between wood and steel could be 20 to 40%. It depends on the design. There's some people that get it really tight. There's some people that can get within like 5% of wood. So I'm not saying that it's never going to work for homes. There's markets like Australia where they use it for 30% plus of homes because they don't have a strong lumber market. They're an island and they don't want to cut down every single tree they have. There's other markets like sort of either third world countries. A lot of these machines were designed for third world countries because you could set up one machine, you could send them one kind of coil, and you could run out houses. And the US has such a strong lumber market. We've got Canada, we've got our own trees, and we've just got so many tall, straight trees that you can use to build houses out of. I mean, and it's really interesting. Other markets don't trust wood. They don't like building with wood. But wood, in my opinion, wood grows on trees. It's a fantastic product to build with. You just got to, like with anything, you got to build with it the right way. If you don't, you can build with steel the wrong way and just constantly have it in water, and it's going to rust out eventually, even if it's galvanized. Enough exposure. I think maybe someday we or somebody will figure out how to do like mass production on homes and start to integrate prefabrication into it, and could potentially get to a lower cost. But I'm talking like, that's like a thousands of houses type deal to where you. So last thing I'll say on this is Nucor, one of the largest steel mill in the US, like steel company. They tried to build steel framed homes and they got out of it because it wasn't working for them. So it's not for lack of trying. People have tried. And I believe That's actually more descriptive of the entire construction industry than just steel framing, which is there are great ideas, but execution matters so much in construction, and your labor force matters so much, and there's only so fast you can evolve in construction. It's just a slow moving industry. So we piddled around with these kinds of projects for a while, homes, residential, and our business didn't really grow. We were struggling to make it work. I mean, it was like a year and a half or so. I mean, we did a decent amount of projects, and I'm proud of the projects we did, and they weren't like money losing projects. They were just so intensive. Like only I could work on them because I would be doing the modeling. I'd be coordinating with an engineer. That's the other thing. Wood, you don't frequently hire an engineer to stamp a small wood building, but for steel, you generally don't want to do anything without getting a proper stamp. So that tends to make cold form steel framed homes tend to be really high quality because people are getting this really nice engineered product. Whereas if you told them to frame it out of wood, they would just do what's the traditional wood framing. So, but again, it's like that's a good thing that you can move quickly with wood and you don't have to be so strict. So this phrase, line start, that is the green button on the machine that you press whenever you are starting a production run. Line start. I personally love that phrase because that's like that means you're going to start making money or you're about to produce product for a job. And manufacturing comes down to one thing, which is how much can you utilize your equipment and your whatever your manufacturing resources. You know, I don't care what you're making, you know, fidget spinners, iPhones, whatever. You want to make as many of them as cheaply as you can, and you make money by selling a lot of them. And that's one of the guiding principles for us was how can we just sell more product? We just want to sell more product. And it made a lot of sense to turn to the commercial market for that because framers would just take our stuff and frame with it. All we were doing was making product, shipping it, and getting out of their way. There was no pre-design, there was no engineering, and so that's what we got into. I actually wanted to show you guys one of our first projects where we just applied material. Does anybody recognize this building? So while we were building those houses, we had done a little bit of online marketing and put ourselves on the map and everything. And we were getting these commercial calls for steel. And this was one of those projects. I thought you guys would like it since it's in your neck of the woods. So yeah, we were there for the start of that project, and fortunately they paid us before they ran into financial troubles. And sometimes in Lafayette they'll get away with building it with wood, but once you get into high occupancy, for fire code reasons, you have to build with steel. You have to use grommets in every single hole that you drill if you want to use Romex. Otherwise, use MC cable. Yeah. So
that's another cost.
Yeah, there's many costs we can talk about there. I mean, and then this was honestly, you know, there's not much more to tell after this point. Basically, we realized that was the market, and that was it. It was game over. It was like just sell more steel. No, we don't do any install. We just put it on the truck and let it go. This was a brewery in like Sarasota, Florida. You know, random people, owners were just finding us because of the way we were marketing ourselves online, which I'll talk about in a bit, and just buying. Like it was unbelievable. It's like people would call us for $200,000 worth of steel, and we'd close it within a couple weeks and make it, and it was great. It was easy. So shop one, this is where we built those modules. We rented this shop for $2,000 a month in the Port of Iberia. We got a friends and family deal. They had some tractor tires in there that they took out. And now we like produce probably $6 million of steel per year out of this little shop. This shop here. This rinky-dink shop, you guys will see it later. We packed it full of roll forming lines. We got 3 lines in there. We used to be able to load inside the building. Can't do that anymore. And probably have like 1 million pounds of steel in the yard out there. And that's where it started though. Then we added 2 more lines to our production, 2 more structural lines, white and blue. So we've got red, white, and blue. Yeah. So these machines we bought from a company in Florida that got hit by a hurricane and was collecting insurance and selling the machines. And these machines had probably rolled about 1 house worth of material each when we bought them.
Wow.
For about probably half the price what it would be new. Our machine manufacturer, the guys who manufacture our machines, same company, made these machines. they told us, like, we always go ask them, like, hey, do you have any customers selling machines? And the guy is super nice.
Who's going on?
The guy who makes these machines, he is like taught us so much about the industry. Great guy. I'm telling you, we haven't bought a new machine since that first machine, and I don't intend on buying a whole lot of new machines. And I mean, so many people get into this industry and say, like, I'm gonna go roll houses, or I'm a developer. Like, I'm a developer. I know what I'm doing in terms of development, but then they don't know what they're doing in terms of manufacturing. And so it's kind of comical how many machines there are in the market. So the other backstory behind this is I closed what I didn't know yet was a $2 million sale. And at the time, we could only manufacture about 60% of the job on our one machine. I mean, this is like a multi-family apartment in Metairie. It's this project here. And by the time the project started, we had acquired those two machines, which increased our capacity to about 90% of the project. And by the end of the project, we had acquired another machine and had increased further to produce basically, like, again, 90% of the project. So it was crazy. These guys came and visited our shop, and we had one machine. We weren't running any jobs at the time, and it's like
You were like, imagine it coming.
We can do it.
Yeah, it was like we can do it. But we executed very well on the project. No complaints. Like we took care of him.
Who is your contractor on this deal?
His name is Henry Fontenot. He's more of a labor broker than like a contractor. The company self-contracted. So large number of our clients are these Indian guys who want to self-perform their own hotels. And we've probably done business with like 4 or 5 hotels at this point. So we also had some other projects come through at the time that were really cool. This is a church in Lake Charles. So then we also leased another building down the road, Shop 2, very creative name again. And we started doing some roll forming in there, introduced a new machine, Stars. Stars was another used machine. This was one of our cheapest machines, but one of our most useful machines to date. This one needed a crane to take it off. The other you could just lift with a forklift. We actually sent blue to South America and we replaced it with. We have 3 structural lines and 1 non-structural line that we're running right now. So I mean, we'd done some prefab for those houses before. Like we were building wall panels and trusses and stuff like that. Taking all the studs that we cut and using it to assemble something bigger. That's a pretty interesting industry. And so that's one of our divisions now, is a prefabrication division. These trusses are like 50 foot or something. So it's pretty cool stuff, like just really big. Some of this for military bases or other projects. I'll just show you a few more projects we've done. So this project is cool because we did it soup to nuts. We did all of the walls and we did all of the trusses. And
Where is that?
This is in New Orleans.
Gotcha.
Very close to the World War II Museum over there.
What is it?
It's a boutique hotel.
Okay.
It's still under construction. But it was cool to combine our stud making and our trusses to full system, full service for this kind of building. I actually did sell this particular job lump sum, but most of our big work now is just however much they buy, that's how much they get billed for. Typically we bill on delivery, although in larger projects we try to get cash up front, like a down payment to hold their price. Like if they want us, because usually they want us to hold the price or whatever for a while, so we'll get a deposit. I'd say it's just like hotels in general. Even smaller projects will take a deposit. We always try to get a deposit.
Okay.
Just like, let's say anything under 100K, we can easily float that. So we're not as worried about getting a deposit. Like a lot of times under 100K, we have the steel in our yard already. And those projects we're less worried about because they move quickly. So it's like someone's building a build out and they need their steel now. So we're gonna build them like next week and it's gonna move so quickly. But on these larger projects, it's like they commit to you, but they may not be ready to take their first load of steel for another 2 months. And then after that, they are always ambitious and the project's always going slower than they imagine. So you want to have some of that cash up front. Sell based off of understanding people are going to be slower than they say, and they usually are. And then we started on a new building. I don't really have photos of it here, but the team grew a lot. We introduced this other shop. So this is kind of my special project shop. We did a larger project for a company out in California where we actually creating the panels, insulating them, and shipping kits to them for them to bolt together into their finished units. We did for that company, but now we do more, we're getting into more prefab, larger scale prefab projects. So another project we're working on right now is for Syracuse University dormitory project. And this was taken in Louisiana, and this was taken in Syracuse at about the same time. And they're going very slowly because of the snow. They have a lot of snow, but
right now they have a ton of snow.
yeah, but they would not be building at all if they were not prefabricating. They would be, because guys putting this together in the field while it's snowing, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen very fast, at least. So, really cool case study where weather's great down here, or you can do it anywhere. You know, in factory, you can move pretty fast. So we want to do more of this kind of stuff if we can. But it's also intensive. It's very intensive. You need a lot of space to do it. You need a lot of pre-design to do it. Like everything is coordinated. Everything, all of these panels have drawings. They're all labeled. We know where they were framed, what they were framed out of, and all this kind of stuff. This one was designed by another company. We have the capabilities to do this, but this particular one was designed by another company. And then they actually closed their plant and outsourced the fab to us. We have a relationship with them. They actually bought a factory, then closed it, and then still had the project. It's just kind of, it's a tough industry to run a factory. It's kind of like modular construction. If you don't have a good pipeline, then you're gonna have days, months, years where your factory is idle and you're like, how do I pay rent? But our model is we've got the roll forming capacity, and we'll go rent a cheap shop in New Iberia and set up shop for the duration of the project, and then we'll shut it down whenever the project's over and carry on. So I think our model could actually work very well in long term. And so we retain the expertise, the project managers, and we are just using a framing crew to build it. So, but we were convenient. At this scale, it's more about delivery than it is about the lowest cost and everything. A big deal. I mean, shipping is a huge cost. It's not crazy on like just material bundled on a truck, but especially as you get into panels, then there's a lot of air freight, and it gets less and less ideal. But man, this world and this market, nothing is ever set. So we've done projects as far away as Hawaii. I don't know why they didn't buy it from someone else. It's only truck right now. I mean, we'd have to be moving a crazy amount for a project to need rail or barge. That's the thing. These projects they're large, but they're not large enough to like warrant serious logistics. Everything we do is just truck. And honestly, we probably don't make more money selling panels than we do selling material, which is a crazy thing. After all the work is said and done, really we make money as a steel trading company. We add value by selling the cold form, the rolled product, but it's not like it's commodity. It's not like it's something that nobody else can make. I think over time in this niche we can increase our margins, but it's going to take time and reputation, and it's going to take people have to do projects the way we want them to do it for it to be successful with this model. Even on this project, it's a huge GC Whiting Turner, and they're still making mistakes that make the project inefficient and cumbersome. And if we weren't in a low cost rent environment, we would be hurting because of what they're doing. They've already delayed the project several months. So I'm still figuring out this market. It's very complex. You have to get in on the projects like day one to make sure that they're designed the right way. A lot of times, like these Indian guys, we push them to stick frame. We tell them, you're not coordinated enough to get this done the right way. So we don't recommend you do it that way. And it's gonna cause you extra cost actually, because if the panels are wrong or if something's wrong, you're gonna end up taking it apart, putting it back together. The subs get annoyed and charge you more. It's a great idea, bad business model. But me and my brother like these kinds of businesses where we don't have to worry about what they're doing on the job site. That's best case first. So we started an e-commerce business, and I love that business because it's like very, very low maintenance in the field. So we're selling all the clips and little pieces that you use to put these structures together. And we've just seen some pretty cool growth over the last 2 years since we've launched it. And it's super low maintenance. So we're selling our largest competitors' products online, and they all sell through distribution, so we're just another distribution channel for them. Very targeted to the framers. This is just showing the growth chart of those sales there. Or that was January. First month of the year, we hit about 60K in sales per month.
It's over 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's just cool. We've shipped to all 50 states now. Just like it's another marketing. It's actually more of a marketing thing where just a lot of people see our name who are in the industry. And actually, this doesn't show what we sell with our material orders. Like whenever we sell a hotel, we may sell $50,000 worth of this product. Like
wow.
I'm sure Richie knows like this, and even when you're home building, this is the hold downs, the anchors, the the roof ties, whatever. This is that product. We sell Simpson, we sell a lot of big names. All right, I'm almost done here. Thank you for bearing with me. So I mean, I'm just so blessed. I feel so blessed and thankful for what our team is doing. Cool projects around the country. This is an Element Hotel outside of Richmond, 8-story project. Just fantastic. This is a project in Hawaii. Yeah, just cool projects everywhere.
I wish we would have been doing the tour of that project.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like we've done several loads out to the Caribbean. I think we've got one that we just shipped out, 2 containers. That's an island market. They got to get their stuff from somewhere, and so we've got our eyes on that market and kind of interested in it too. So over the last 5 years, I'm a green leader. Like I know I don't have all the skills it takes, and I'm still learning. And only in the last, say, 6 months, around Christmas time, I sat down and consolidated what I think U.S. Frame Factory's mission is, and that is to build up communities through better construction products. And I think that's a larger goal of Boxy as well. And we're in the cold form steel market right now, but I see that as just an engine for our future growth, so that we can get into R&D and other products, other building systems or similar systems, and revolutionize how construction is done. And I mean, I see construction as I've really come to reflect on this more, is that you have to change small things in construction. That's how you change construction, is small things. Yeah. And I think that's going to be my long-term approach, is like, how can I add one more thing to my client, or add one more thing to the process that makes it easier, faster, cheaper. And yeah, I'm very excited to do that. A few premises, I'll summarize them. Construction takes a long time, so it would be better if things were, faster, still high quality and lower cost. And another premise is that construction is inherently hard to innovate in. That's what I just talked about. And this is a very important premise for me, is that other people smarter and wealthier than me have tried to solve these problems. So there's something that is inherently, you can't just throw more money at it to solve it, and you can't just throw good ideas, quote unquote, good ideas at it to solve the problem. So we have to think about things a different way. This is kind of more along the lines of what your guide was. I just wanted to have some of this on here. Some things that characterize our company right now is I really look for fanatical builders, like people like myself who want to just always be building. Like I've got building projects in my mind, at home, at work. I'm always building, even though we're a manufacturing company. We do have a younger team. I mean, Luke is in his 20s. Our management team is in their 20s. And that's not to say we look for people to be in their 20s to run the company. We are just young spirited. We're looking for young spirited people who can bring that kind of energy that we want to bring to this industry. At the same time, even though we're young, we look for people with a long-term view of how they're doing that. Jensen Huang, the NVIDIA CEO, has a great video about how he's not trying to change the world overnight. He's just trying to play the game again and again and again and get a little bit better every single time. And I really like that approach of, we don't have to reinvent how construction is done today, but I hope to wake up in 20 years and see buildings just fly up in ways that we never imagined. I'll talk about our divisions. So we have the roll forming, prefab, and e-commerce. And that's kind of order of size. Roll forming is the largest, prefab is smaller, and then e-commerce is the smallest. So the markets, cold form steel construction. And I'd say it's a funnel. We really focus on structural. Like, we're the best in the structural market. There's a huge non-structural market that we're not as competitive in, because it's just a volume game, and there's people with faster machines and cheaper steel than us. But in the structural market, it's a little less easy to get away with that. And then very specifically, I think we crush it on multi-story structural buildings. I think we do really well for our customers and execute really well in those kinds of buildings. This is our revenue and employee count over the years. So last year we did 14, including the construction project we're doing to build our new building. we're building it for our family business. But we doubled from the previous year, and our employee count really exploded. So 2026, I want to hit 20 to 25. I mean, I think we're already on. As of Q4 last year, we were already on pace to hit 20. So I'd like to hit 25. My solid goals is by 28, I want to hit 100 million, and by 2032, I want to hit $1 billion in revenue. Well, if you look at our divisions right now, they are formed around creating the most complete product that we can create in one segment. So if someone wants to build a building that has cold form steel, we have everything they need to build it, right? And that's why it was important to get the prefab started, because if you have to build all the walls, but you have to go get your trusses from somebody else, that's a pain. Now we're full service in that one area, right? And frankly, I don't know how big the addressable market is, because we may create new opportunities that didn't exist prior, which is like maybe we just build a ton of dormitory projects because we provide a very streamlined, efficient process for building dormitories or hotels or whatever. And we're bigger than the cold form steel manufacturing market, because they're not creating that value add. They're just selling the studs. So I think I actually really like this box that we've created with these divisions. I think we can go a long way. I think we could easily surpass 100 million and make it well on our way to $1 billion. So how did we get to where we are now? B2B sales, selling past the distributor. We don't use distributors. A lot of our competitors started 30 years ago. They use distributors. Online marketing. Like we said, screw everybody else. We're putting our prices online. Nobody else had their prices online. And people find our website and they're like, oh, wow, I can actually look at the prices. And like, even if we give them better rates than what we show there, it's just, nobody else does it. And a lot of luck, like, that we picked the commercial market, that we picked it right after COVID when people were open to other options, that we picked the right roll forming machine. We could have picked other roll forming machines that would have pigeonholed our manufacturing capacity. So there's a good bit of luck there. So this is our $1 million strategy, which got us to $1 million revenue, marketing techniques to be more visible. So like our biggest competitors, they can't show prices because they have to sell through distribution. And then the distributors don't want to generally show prices because they're distributing on a per location basis, like out of Lafayette or Baton Rouge or New Orleans. And so they don't want to conflict with each other, and they don't give everybody the same price based off of where they are. And then the last big factor there was we actually know how to read structural plans related to our product. And a lot of distributors just aren't that sophisticated. They just know the product. What do you need? Just send us just send us a list. So I showed you guys my revenue goals, right? And so it's like, why, Mateo? Why do you want to go there? For me specifically, I love cold form steel, but it's, to me, I've already told you, like, there's great instances to build out of wood. It's not a hill to die on for me. It's a product in the line of products I want to offer eventually. And so for me, big revenue means that we can spend a lot of money on R&D. We can spend money figuring out the future systems of construction. And I'm serious when I say I want it to look completely different. I want it to be, unbelievably different by the time. I want to support smaller construction tech startups. I think I've figured out that it takes a different kind of energy to do a construction tech startup than a software tech startup. And I really believe it takes a scrappy mentality, because there's a lot of construction tech that comes out of San Francisco where they're used to this crazy, insane California market where people will pay anything for stuff. And that's not how the rest of the world is for construction. So I believe it's a scrappy approach is the approach for construction tech, but it depends what your company goals are. Like we really, sometimes to our detriment, we hire really young, inexperienced people and we just train them. It takes time. And long-term vision, I believe in having a long-term vision is extremely helpful. This is my last slide. Part of it, my parents, they've encouraged us, they supported us through the process. Yeah, multiple things. I don't think I want it for the sake of saying I'm founded a business per se. I think for me personally, this is the way I see myself using my skills and my abilities to change the world. Kind of one of the first things I said was I want to change the world. And I'm trying to maximize for my ability to change the world. And this was a clear pathway to doing that. Whereas working a 9 to 5 for someone else wasn't as clear of a path. I mean, I think a lot of it is faith-based. I believe that there's a great book I like called Garden City. It talks about how God created the world and he put man here to cultivate it. And so I think part of it is religious, where I feel like I'm part of my job is to cultivate the world and make it better. Yeah, I'd say that's one of the bigger reasons is why I feel driven to change the world. It's a great question.